One of the places that people come from all over the world to visit when they come to Israel is the grave of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was a 2nd century Kabbalist, okay, and people are there all the time. It's one of the few places in Israel there are people visiting his grave all of the time. Okay, but the time when most people come is on his yahrzeit. Yahrzeit is the anniversary of his death, and why is that? One of the explanations is that Judaism believes that time is a spiral, not a line, and each year we repeat again. The year is repeated again. When we come to the yahrzeit of a tzaddik, that was the day that he passed away. That was the day that he reached his highest level of power while in the world. Okay? And so the time when people go to visit the grave the most is on that yahrzeit. This year it's on the 30th of April, the 18th day of the Hebrew month of Iyar, the 33rd day of the Omer. Why do they go? So there's a very beautiful medrash. Medrash is a commentary on the Torah. And it says that when the spies, there was a certain, one of the portions of the Torah is called shlach. Moses decided before the Jewish people were going to come into Israel to send spies, to send 12 spies to go into Israel to see what was the best way to conquer the land. Unfortunately, 10 of the 12 spies lost the track. They said, instead of coming back and saying how we're going to conquer the land, they came back and they gave their own commentary. We can't possibly do it. They're giants. We're like grasshoppers. Only two of the spies didn't lose track. One was Joshua, Moses' protege, right? And that was because Moses gave him a special blessing, actually added a letter to his name. The other was Caleb ben Yefuna. What did Caleb do not to fall into the bad advice of the spies? And the answer is that he went to the grave, Ma'arat HaMachpelah, the cave of the couples, the grave of Abraham and Sarah, of Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov, and one of his two wives, Leah. He went there, and because of that strength of praying at the graves of the righteous, he was saved. Okay, so that's the reason people go from all over the world to pray at the grave of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai on his yahrzeit, because they want their prayers to be answered. The Ari explained why is that. Why is it better at the grave of a tzaddik? Why can't we just pray for wherever we are? And the Ari explained that when a person is alive, there are 5 parts of the soul. There are 3 parts that are in the body. 1 part connects us to the heaven, and the 5th part is in heaven all the time. When a person passes away, the entire soul goes to heaven except for a very, very small part of the grave. When a person goes to visit the grave of a tzaddik anytime, but especially in the tzaddik, they can actually connect to the soul of the tzaddik. They're in the presence of the tzaddik, and the tzaddik can actually take their prayers up. Are we praying to the tzaddik? God forbid. We're praying to God that in the merit of this great person, this person who came into the world to be an example for us, to teach us, that we're praying in the merit of his presence who we're standing. Hashem should answer our prayers. But we're also asking, like we would ask if we go to the grave of our grandparents or our parents, Babi, Zaidi, Ima, Abba, please help me. Take my prayers and carry them up to the heavenly throne. The Baal Shem Tov said something even more. He said there's something that when a person really gets into this idea of being at the grave, that he's in the presence of the tzaddik, something clicks. Something changes in him. When that thing changes, whatever was blocking his prayers from being answered before, everything opens up. Okay, there's that the blockage is gone. That's the power of going to visit a grave. Okay, but what if he can't go? Right? If he can go, can come. Okay, but what if you can't go? So one thing is to actually study the teachings of the Rashbi. Do a Google, ask for Zohar, learn some things from the Zohar, go to Ascent's website, KabbalahOnline.com, and study that. That brings you closer to the tzaddik. The Rebbe said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught that you can go to the grave of any tzaddik. If you're near another tzaddik's grave, all of the tzaddikim are together on the person's yahrzeit. But the best advice, I have a personal story that I'm going to share with you. Once I took a friend of mine to the grave of Yonatan ben Uziel. It's a grave here that people go when they want to get married. And 9 months went by and he wasn't married. He went to the Rebbe. He had a private audience with the Rebbe. And he said, Rebbe, why am I not married yet? Rabbi Leiter took me to the grave of Yonatan ben Uziel, and he promised me, I didn't promise, but he said, I promised him I'm going to get married. and I'm not married yet. And the Rebbe said, did you leave a note? And my friend said, no, Rabbi Leiter didn't tell me to leave a note. So the Rebbe said, please tell Rabbi Leiter that when you go to the grave of tzaddik, you have to leave a note, because the note connects the spiritual power of the place with your physical request. So my friend said, well, does that mean I have to go back? And the Rebbe said, no, if you send it with somebody else, it's like you went there yourself, right? Since you already visited, if you send it with somebody else, it's like you went there yourself. But still, it's true. Even if you can't come, it's still possible to send a note, right? To send your prayers and make someone else your messenger, your emissary, to bring it to the grave. Ascent is happy to be your emissary. All the information about how to send the grave is in the body of the newsletter text. Okay, please send your prayers a day before, if possible, of Friday the 30th, so we have time to organize, and please God, all of our prayers should be answered.